Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rinthian. I hope you all are doing great today. I have a video that's a little bit different than the ones I've been doing. And for those who don't know, and I don't think anyone does, I originally intended this channel to be about aiming. It was only that I realized during that time that I was sinking so much of my time into aiming. When I say aiming, I'm referring to aim practice like on Kovacs and such. That I did not have time for other things in my life that I wanted to do, so I decided to take a step back, and I haven't really continued it since. And I don't think I have any plans to in the future so far. If I do go back to it, it would be just completely random and nothing planned. During the time when I was practicing my aim a lot, I wrote a script for a video in regards to aiming. And I wrote it out pretty thoroughly, I would think so, but I never actually made a video with it. I pretty much finished it almost all the way. There's probably a little bit more I could have added on, but I don't intend to ever touch it, and I don't want it to go to waste. Despite it pretty much already has. Last time I touched it was, let's see. I created this back in September 19th, 2025. It's been a long time, and yeah, so I wanted to share that all with you, and this isn't going to be complete of a script, and I don't intend to complete it, so we'll just see how this goes. We're gonna shoot the shit, and if you learn something, you learn something. If you don't, you don't, and it's okay. And so basically I was in the shower, and I was like, I wanted to make something a little bit different than I typically have been doing, and I was like, hey, I wrote an entire script for a video already, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my own dialogue along with reading this script I have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do this. Is aim training real? Amongst all the confusion, misconceptions, and flat out lies, the aim training scene can quickly be filled with what feels to be potholes, leading most to reconsider. With these seemingly being most prominent amongst those who have never stepped a foot into the scene, I think the best step forward is education. Before we dive into these topics, I'd like to introduce myself and explain why that is relevant to you. I've been around the aiming scene for roughly 5 years. While primarily passive for like the first 3, I would dip in and out, getting my foot wet, but never truly committing. Definitely contributed to me not knowing if it'd be my best course of action or simply a waste of my time. As of December 2023, I decided to look more into aiming as a whole, and very quickly I came across aiming groups. While overwhelmed from the knowledge I was seeing, I picked up that Voltaic was often the pick for most. I grabbed myself a spreadsheet I found through a Reddit post, and from there I began a not so consistent aiming journey. My first placement, I've landed myself in the lowest of ranks, novice category, rank iron, with some scores even barely being unranked. Well, this was a shock to me immediately, as I thought I was always told from my friends that my mechanics were good. I never truly had put them to the test till now. This sparked something in me, an inner desire for improvement. I wanted the numbers on my screen to go up and my aim to land on my target more than yesterday's. Through many seemingly fruitless efforts and many days going unseen of any new scores, before I knew it, I was grinding for my last few scores to hit gold rank in novice category. And even now, 490 hours later, I find myself surprised at the same place, grinding for the last score till master complete in intermediate category. Let my efforts be seen of that who had no idea of what I was getting myself into, and now through trial and error over the course of 2 years, with many times I've gave up and took breaks for months, I came back at it with again the desire re-sparked and a new score calling out my name. So that was the introduction I had wrote for who I am and where I'm coming from. I hope that serves as a basis for why anyone should even bother lending an ear towards me when it comes to any unsolicited advice in regards to aiming in video games. I'm not claiming to be the best, and I certainly don't ever intend that. I don't ever intend to get to be the best. I simply just wanted my aim, as I said there, to land on my targets more. And I wanted to aim well. I wanted to aim good. But what does it mean to aim well? How does one improve at clicking dots on a monitor screen? And where do I even start or find answers? These are all valid questions and concerns one has when beginning, yet still can be the veil between talks of improvement and to actually start on your aim journey. To understand how to aim, we need to understand how to improve. How does one improve at a task? Well, what is improvement? I know this is going to seem a bit corny or maybe even cringe, but I think it's worth looking to the definition of improvement, and that is defined broadly at purposeful efforts to secure positive change. Which is great because we've now defined what we want: to secure positive change. Now we want to direct that towards our mouse. How do we know we are changing our mouse movements positively? Often this is where divergence begins. While many point towards the multiplayer games at hand and fewer towards the aim training game, either option isn't the wrong option, but rather we need to understand the underlying goal each individual has. Whether that is dedicated focused practice on pure aiming mechanics, or passively through the varying aim situations the multiplayer games poses itself. But now that we have our understanding of improvement and a goal in mind, we can move on to the aiming mechanics themselves. The mouse is a very special tool, as it isn't solely operable through one form of motion, such as a controller with the joystick moved with our thumbs. However, we have the opportunity of using our fingers, wrist, forearm, bicep, and shoulder solely for the purpose of hitting our intended target. To maximize every bit of our skill range, we need to utilize every part of our arm, not solely for reaching the top, but to also begin our journey that'll set us on the right foot moving forward. Knowledge of incorporating these sections of your arm when you're not used to it certainly can be a feat on its own to overcome. I remember originally when starting out, learning arm versus wrist aiming was a hot debate for a while. Whether they choose an option, does that mean to eliminate the other form of aiming from their repertoire? And simply put, for those who still aren't certain, elimination of one form of aiming isn't the play, but rather we want to use them in tandem with one another. Naturally, a question that poses itself amongst that answer is what percentage of our arm do I use with the others? And well, this depends on your sensitivity used. You can imagine a slider that incorporates all areas of your arm. And the faster sensitivity leads for finer mouse control and movement, demanding more finger and wrist usage, and slower sensitivity requires larger movements, leading for more forearm, bicep, and shoulder involvement. With misconceptions out of the way, a fresh mindset, and a clear understanding of basic incorporation of our entire arm working together, we've set a firm foundation for building off of what'll soon be the building blocks of our aim. This now directs us to our next important specifics of understanding. What embodies those building blocks? Our big three: tracking, flicking, and switching. And as I've already talked at the beginning, I'm doing this live. I'm actually in the game as I'm reading the script. So I'll just demonstrate to you real quick. So how I personally define tracking is by following your reticle at the same motion of speed toward our target with an intention of keeping your crosshair paced to their immediate position. And maybe that's just a very polished answer of way of putting it, but essentially it's as simple as this. You put your crosshair onto the target and you follow them. Now you're tracking them. You're tracking them. They stopped, and then when they move and you follow your crosshair to their immediate position, wherever they are, you're tracking them. And now we can move on to flicking. Flicking is, as I define, a fast swipe of our mouse from point A to point B with an intention of a full abrupt stop of our reticle to our intended target. Well, maybe that's a bit of a blanket statement, or maybe even a bit of a wrong way to kind of describe it, because a flick doesn't need to be an abrupt stop, rather, but it can be as simple as this too, where you don't land on the target too, but in between the flick, you hit the target between there, and you can still consider that a flick. But as far as my definition for the script I had wrote at the time, it was as simple as this, where you take your crosshair and you move it to the target, but you want to move it quick, because just moving it at normal speed, you didn't flick, you moved your crosshair from nothing to the target. But from nothing to the target quickly is a flick. It's defined through its fast motion and its quick attempt at a stop of landing on our target. And then we have switching. Switching is the transitioning itself from target to target via quick mouse swipes. And switching can be a bit hard to describe, at least for myself, when I was trying to write it out. And so I gave it such a layman terms way of describing it, and that's just like it's the space in between the target. So you're switching, right? Go from target to target. And so now we have our three. Even though I just described all three, I'll just quickly burst through all of them again. So again, we have our tracking, immediate target position. Second is the flick. And then the third is the switch, right? We got those basics down. We got tracking, flicking, and switching. And I apologize if this is rushed, or if maybe just a weird way of describing the words. I wrote this a while ago, and so just kind of seeing how it goes. You can let me know down below if I get anything wrong. Yeah, so with our big three defined, we've now got a jigsaw puzzle of what our aim is and how it's sectioned into multiple parts that'll create our final frame once all spliced together into a fluid picture. But what does it mean to have a fluid picture? How does one move fluidly with their mouse? And now we move on to fluidity. Well, now our focus shifts towards mouse tension, of which is easily the make or break for many of whether or not they land the final shot. Mouse tension is the amount of force that you apply to your mouse through varying forms of tensioning of your muscles. From your bicep down to your fingers, every area has a form of tension we can take advantage of to bring us to the next step, and while simultaneously knocking us back down if left unmanaged. Well, many of us have heard of to not death grip your mouse, and popular forms of aiming many refer to is as calm aim. It can be a bit confusing to know if this form of aim is simply to have a feather-light touch to your mouse, or simply to just not grip your mouse too hard that it'll feel like you'll break. But rather, our point of reference is going to be comfortability. The natural grip you find suits you, and from there, dependent on your intentions, will be the answer which form of tension in which part of your arm you'll utilize. And it looks like I actually stopped my script there. So off on that note, I'll go ahead and give a little bit more definition into what I mean into through where our tensions are will lead to a varying muscle and tensions we'll utilize. So when it comes to something like tracking, you generally are going to want a very relaxed grip. You don't need death grip, or else it might look really shaky. The downside of it too is that when you're playing competitive games, you need to take in a factor of the amount of tension you're putting in your mouse, because you have endurance as well. You have a limited amount of stamina you can use, and without properly utilizing your muscle tension, you're going to quickly fall under overutilizing your stamina, your endurance, whatever you want to refer to it as. And you'll notice that maybe one game you're popping off, you're doing awesome, right? And the next game, you just can't hit a single shot. It's because you're tired. You tired yourself out. You may not feel it, but your muscles certainly are. So does that mean to always have a relaxed grip all the time? Certainly not, no. Everything varies with context. So now we have like fluid tracking of a target moving in just a linear direction, right? So if they're just moving like this platform, very relaxed. You don't need to do much other than just softly move our mouse. But then we have something else that's reactive tracking. We're going to have to utilize a little bit more tension at certain areas. But this is also when we utilize our endurance, we have to be aware of. Because when you notice that these bots, they stop and then they go a different direction, that's when we need to stop our muscle tension of moving our mouse in a certain direction. Utilize a little extra tension at part of your hand where you're going to stop the movement of your mouse and then reassert it to the other direction. But if a target's moving quickly, here, I'll go to a custom game and I'll show you exactly what I mean. For these people here, you'll notice that they move left and right a lot. You're gonna try to track them if you're playing like a tracking hero like Soldier, where he has a hit scan, it's a rapid fire, or yeah, full auto. So you're gonna want to try to follow him with your mouse. But see how quickly they move directions? You're gonna have to react to that. But you don't want to overreact that you go way beyond them. So it's about proper tensioning of your muscles and knowing when to relax and when to add more tension whenever they change directions. You'll notice that as these targets move back and forth, I will try my best to keep a fluid motion on them each time they move left or right. So if there's any questions, about anything I've said, because I know I kind of rushed through everything. Feel free to ask. I don't have all the answers. I'm not claiming to. And I've stopped aim training for a while. But I just didn't want this to go to waste, my script. And I wanted to share any knowledge. Maybe you would learn something. Maybe I helped someone. So let me know what you think below. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you all in my next video. Hope you all take care. Bye bye.